Let's start with something we rarely say out loud. We've been lied to about love, and not in small ways, in fundamental identity shaping ways. Think about it. Where did you learn what love is supposed to look like? Was it a conversation with your parents? Was it through watching their example? Or was it from movies, the slow motion kisses, the tearful reunions, the chase, the drama, the fireworks? Most of us were raised on highlight reels. We were trained to believe that love is the grand gesture, the tropical vacation, the sudden epiphany that makes everything perfect. We were taught that love is something you fall into, like it's gravity, not something you build with work, patience, and emotional maturity. And that lie, it's the reason we keep falling into patterns that don't serve us. It's why we stay in relationships where the spark is bright, but the foundation is cracked. It's why we chase the people who excite us, even when they don't respect us. Let me be honest with you. Love isn't what happens in the highs. Love is what remains in the ordinary. Love is how they speak to you on a Tuesday night when nothing exciting is happening. Love is how they hold space for your silence. Love is how you both show up, not on the honeymoon, but after a long Monday in traffic, when the world has exhausted you. That's where love either lives or dies. But we were never taught that. Instead, we were sold the fantasy. Rom-coms made dysfunction look romantic. The guy who chases the girl relentlessly, who threatens to jump off a Ferris wheel unless she agrees to go out with him, that's not passion. That's emotional manipulation. The princess who sleeps until she's rescued, that's not love. That's dependence dressed as destiny. And because we were never given the tools to tell the difference, we keep confusing excitement for connection. We confuse chaos for chemistry. We call it spark, but it's just our nervous system in panic mode. Let me tell you something. I wish someone told me earlier, when your heart races around someone, it doesn't always mean this is right. Sometimes it just means this is familiar. Sometimes it means this is what pain felt like last time, and my body remembers. Here's the truth. Chemistry is not compatibility. You can feel electric with someone and still be emotionally unsafe. You can have amazing physical attraction with someone who doesn't value your peace. That's the trap. We overvalue chemistry. We think that butterflies mean yes, but butterflies are also what you feel when you're afraid. Let me ask you something real right now. Do you feel safe, or do you just feel stimulated? Because love, real love, doesn't spike your cortisol. It doesn't leave you wondering if they'll call or anxious about their next move. Love is calm. Love is clear. Love is consistent. But if all you've ever known is emotional chaos, peace might feel boring. And that's the most dangerous lie. We've been told that peace means the passion is gone, when in reality, peace is what your nervous system has been craving all along. So today, I'm asking you to challenge everything you thought you knew about love. Are you chasing the same pain in prettier packaging? Are you staying for the chemistry while starving for emotional safety? Are you confusing familiar with forever? Because if you are, you're not alone. But it's time to stop waiting for the movie version of love and start writing a story rooted in truth, not fantasy. Ask yourself, what version of love am I still chasing that's been keeping me stuck? If this hit home, I want to hear your thoughts in the comments. Like and subscribe to keep growing with me. Thank you for being here. This journey, this healing, we're walking it together. We're so afraid of losing someone that we forget what it means to lose ourselves. Let that land for a second. How many times have you overextended, overcompromised, overgiven just to keep someone around? We call it love. But what it really is self-abandonment dressed up as sacrifice. Somewhere along the way, we were taught that if we give more, if we tolerate more, if we bend more, then love will stay. We were taught that boundaries scare people away. But let me flip that for you. Boundaries don't push love away. They reveal who is never really there for you in the first place. I wish someone had told me this earlier. Love without limits isn't loyalty. It's self-erasure. Because when you give everything without holding something sacred, you don't create connection. You create codependence. Let me break this down. When you enter a relationship without clear boundaries, you start adapting to someone else's world until you don't recognize your own. You stop seeing your friends. You abandon your hobbies. You lose your voice in conversations just to avoid conflict. You don't say what hurts. You don't express what you need. You don't show who you really are. And suddenly, you're not building a relationship, you're disappearing in one. I've seen this happen to people I love, and I've done it myself. You fall in love. And it's beautiful, intoxicating even. But you forget that love isn't about becoming someone's everything. It's about becoming someone who can still be everything to yourself. Let me ask you this. When was the last time you made a list of your non-negotiables? Not surface level preferences like tall, funny, likes dogs. I mean, emotional non-negotiables, the things your peace and purpose depend on. Things like, I will not be in a relationship where I can't express my truth. I will not abandon my friendships to make someone feel secure. I will not trade my self-respect for someone else's convenience. Write them down, etch them into your identity. Because when you don't define your boundaries, someone else will, and they usually won't have your best interest in mind. Now, I know what you might be thinking, but Jay, if I set boundaries, won't I lose people? Yes, you might. But hear me, you only lose the ones who are gaining from your lack of self-respect. The people who truly see you, who truly want to grow with you, they won't be offended by your boundaries. They'll honor them because boundaries don't threaten connection. They protect it. Let's stop pretending that love means access to everything. Your time, your body, your energy, these are sacred. And the right person will treat them that way. Here's something I remind myself often. If someone walks away because you chose to protect your peace, they were never building with you, they were borrowing from you. Real love doesn't ask you to shrink. It doesn't ask you to betray your values to prove your loyalty. It doesn't punish you for saying no. It listens. It adjusts. It respects. So the next time you find yourself overgiving, overcompensating, or over-explaining, pause it. Ask yourself, is this connection costing me myself? Because here's the truth. Most people won't say out loud, if you have to abandon yourself to keep someone, you've already lost. Protect your peace. Protect your passion. Protect your purpose. Because the love worth keeping will never ask you to lose them. Let's talk about something no one wants to admit. Most of us are addicted to intensity, not intimacy. We say we want deep connection, loyalty, someone to grow with. But the moment things get predictable, stable, even peaceful, we panic. We start to wonder, where's the spark? Why don't I feel excited anymore? Is this getting boring? But here's the truth, that will change everything if you let it. Love isn't meant to entertain you. It's meant to evolve you. The real test of love isn't what happens on the honeymoon or on a 5-star vacation. It's what happens on a regular Tuesday night. New celebrations, new champagne, new fireworks. Just the two of you, unfiltered, unperforming, unmasked. See, we've been trained to chase moments that feel like movies. But love is not a movie. Love is a Monday morning after no sleep. Love is a Friday night when plans fall through and you're both exhausted. Love is a Sunday afternoon folding laundry in silence. And the question is, do you still want to be there when nothing exciting is happening? Because that's when the truth shows up. Not during the big moments, but in the boring ones. Let me share something I've learned. A bad relationship with a fun life can fool you into thinking it's good. But a good relationship, it makes everything in life feel richer. You don't need constant stimulation when the connection is real. You don't need the high when the foundation is strong. Because safety isn't boring, it's rare. But here's the catch. If your nervous system is addicted to chaos, peace will feel like withdrawal. That's why so many of us self-sabotage when things finally calm down. You start to look for problems, you pick fights. You start doubting what was once certain, not because anything is wrong, but because peace is unfamiliar We confuse calm for complacency. We confuse stability for stagnation. We think, if I'm not constantly stimulated, then maybe I've fallen out of love. But you haven't fallen out of love. You've just stepped into real love, the kind that doesn't need to shout to be heard. Think about it. The calm presence of someone who gets you, that's love. The quiet nights that feel safe, not silent, that's love. The routine moments that feel like home, that's love. You want passion, build it on top of peace. Because real passion isn't found in unpredictability. It's found in trust, in mutual effort, in emotional depth. You want excitement? Choose someone who makes growth exciting, not drama addictive. And I'll tell you this, from personal experience, some of my favorite memories with Radhi aren't the big events. They're the days we sat on the couch doing nothing. The moments where our presence was enough. That's when I knew this wasn't just love. This was alignment. So here's the shift I want you to make today. Don't measure your relationship by how often you laugh in loud places. Measure it by how deeply you can sit together in silence. Because if it only works when life is exciting, it's not built for real life. The couples that make it, they're not the ones with the most adrenaline. They're the ones who can ride out the quiet seasons without panic because they've built something deeper than sparks. They've built something real. We all grow up with this belief that the perfect relationship is the one without arguments. No raised voices, no disagreements, no tension, just harmony. But here's the truth that changed everything for me. It's not the presence of conflict that breaks a relationship, it's how you handle it. And even more than that, it's what you avoid saying that creates the deepest fractures. Let me be real with you. I used to think if we argued, something was wrong. That love meant ease, peace, agreement. But I've learned real relationships aren't built in agreement. They're built in the repair after disagreement. Healthy love isn't conflict-free, it's conflict-resilient. Because here's what happens in real life. You will trigger each other. You will misunderstand each other. You will let each other down. But the couples who last, they don't run from it. They lean in. Let me explain why. Every fight you avoid becomes a seed of resentment. Every truth you swallow becomes a future explosion. Every moment you fake peace becomes a betrayal of your emotional truth. Avoiding conflict doesn't protect the relationship, it postpones the collapse. What we need is conscious conflict, not to hurt each other, but to understand each other. The next time you argue, try this. Instead of reacting with blame, pause and ask, help me understand what this brought up for you. Not who's right, not who started it, but what's the wound behind your words? Because most arguments in relationships aren't about the dishes or the text reply. They're about what those things symbolize. You forgot to call might mean, I don't feel prioritized. You didn't listen might mean, I feel invisible. You raised your voice might mean, I don't feel safe. If you stop listening at the surface level, you'll always miss the root. But when you get curious, not combative, you unlock healing instead of repeating patterns. Now, here's something powerful from research. It takes 5 positive interactions to offset 1 negative one. Let that sink in. So even if you argue, the key is this. Do you repair fast enough? Do you remind each other, hey, I'm not your enemy, I'm your teammate? You want a love that doesn't avoid hard conversations. You want a love that can sit in discomfort and grow through it. But listen closely. Conflict becomes toxic only when you attack, not express. You shame, not share. You retreat, not repair. The goal isn't to be perfect, it's to be present. To come back to each other after the storm and say, let's learn from this. Let's grow from this. Let's not let this break what we're building. I used to think that space after an argument meant disconnection. Now I understand it can mean respect. It means I love you enough to process before I speak. I used to think that needing space meant weakness. Now I see it's emotional wisdom because love doesn't mean avoiding hard conversations. It means having them and still choosing each other afterward. Real love is repairable. not because it never breaks, but because both people care enough to mend it. So don't chase a relationship where no one argues. Chase one where you can argue and still feel loved. Where conflict doesn't build walls, it deepens understanding. Let's talk about something that fools most of us, at least once: the volume of lust versus the silence of love. You meet someone, the energy is electric. You can't stop thinking about them. Your heart races when their name pops up. You're checking your phone like it's a slot machine. It feels like love, but often it's not. It's novelty, it's stimulation. It's your brain hooked on dopamine, not your soul grounded in connection. Lust is loud, it demands your attention. It floods your body with excitement. But love, real love, whispers. It doesn't scream, it doesn't chase the spotlight, it anchors you. Here's the mistake we make: we assume that the chemical high of a new connection is the measure of emotional depth. But those highs fade not because something's wrong, but because your brain adjusts. That's biology, not betrayal. Let me break this down with science for a second. When we first meet someone, our brain releases intense doses of dopamine. It's the same chemical response we get from sugar, gambling, even addiction. It makes us feel euphoric, invincible, obsessed. But over time, the intensity fades. And if we don't understand what's happening, we assume the love is fading too. But it's not fading. It's deepening if we let it. See, the thrill of "I can't stop thinking about you" is replaced by something far more valuable. I can rest with you. I feel seen by you. I feel safe beside you. But we rarely give relationships enough time to reach that depth. We bail when the thrill dips. We panic when the chemistry cools. We chase new sparks. Instead of building the slow burning fire of real emotional intimacy, let me ask you this. Are you looking for someone who makes your heart race, or someone who makes your soul relax? Because there's a difference between adrenaline and alignment. Adrenaline says, "I need more." Alignment says, "This is enough." Let's be real. Some of you are chasing chaos and calling it chemistry. You're mistaking emotional unpredictability for passion. But love that hurts, that confuses, that leaves you anxious after every interaction, that's not love. That's emotion addiction. Here's what love really looks like. It's the calm in the storm, not the storm itself. It's the person who doesn't just excite you in the highs, but sits beside you in the lows. It's not about always feeling giddy, it's about always feeling grounded. So many people say, "But we had so much passion." Yet what they're really saying is, "We had constant ups and downs and I mistook the chaos for intensity." I get it. We're conditioned to believe that love has to be dramatic to be real, but drama isn't a sign of love. It's usually a sign of unhealed wounds playing out through attraction. And here's something else most people miss. Love isn't supposed to fix you. It's supposed to meet you where you are and challenge you to grow. That means sometimes love will be uncomfortable, not because it's unsafe, but because it's asking you to rise, to show up, to communicate, to stay when it's easier to run, to listen instead of win. And that quiet effort, the choosing, the patience, the presence, that's the kind of love that lasts. So if you're wondering why something that felt so exciting burned out so quickly, maybe it was never built to stay, because fireworks fade, but a steady flame warms you for life. Stop chasing the volume of love. Start listening for its depth. Let me say something that most people never realize until it's too late. You don't just fall in love with who someone is. You fall in love with how they were loved. And that affects how you will be loved. Their patterns will shape your peace. Their wounds will shape your reality. Their emotional habits, the ones they inherited, not even consciously, will begin to mold your nervous system without you even noticing. Let me explain. You could be the most secure, grounded, emotionally mature person. But if you enter a relationship with someone who's avoidant, who shuts down every time things get real, who disappears emotionally when you need closeness, over time, that begins to make you anxious. And if you're someone who's already a little anxious and you're with someone who's inconsistent, 1 minute warm, the next cold, one day connected, the next distant, suddenly your peace becomes a guessing game. Why? Because attachment is contagious. You adapt to the emotional climate you're exposed to, just like a plant in a new environment. And if that climate is cold, unpredictable, or unsafe, your nervous system stops blooming. It goes into survival mode. You start walking on eggshells. You question your instincts. You become someone who is constantly performing, hoping to earn stability. But love that has to be earned is not love. It's EmotionalHealing. And I say this with compassion. You are not responsible for healing someone's past, but you are 100% responsible for protecting your peace in the present. Here's the mistake we make. We think understanding someone's trauma is a reason to tolerate their behavior, but empathy without boundaries leads to burnout. You can understand why they act the way they do, but you still get to decide whether their patterns are safe for you. Let's be clear. People love through the lens of what they survived. If they were taught that love is unpredictable, they may test your consistency. If they were raised to believe love is earned, they may make you jump through hoops. If they never felt heard, they may not know how to listen. If they were never held emotionally, they might not know how to stay. That's not your fault, but it becomes your responsibility to decide, is this helping me grow, or is this pulling me into survival? Your body knows before your brain does. If you're constantly anxious, over-explaining, or silencing your needs, that's not alignment, that's adaptation. You're not being too much. You're being reshaped by a dynamic that doesn't honor your nervous system. So how do we protect our peace? Step 1, observe how you feel after being with them, not just what they say. Do you feel more secure or more uncertain? Do you feel more grounded or more reactive? Step 2, communicate your needs clearly, early, honestly, without apology. Watch how they respond. Do they lean in, or do they punish you for being honest? Step 3, remember you can't change someone's style, but you can choose whether their style is safe for you. We keep trying to be good enough to make someone secure, but security isn't something you earn from someone. It's something two people build together with patience, self-awareness, and healing. And let's be honest, no one shows up perfectly healed. But the question is, are they willing to grow with you? Are they willing to look inward? Are they willing to do the work, not just make the promises? Because you deserve more than love that leaves you guessing. You deserve more than a connection that triggers your past. You deserve to be in a relationship that regulates your nervous system, not one that constantly sets it on fire. Let me ask you something deep and uncomfortable. Are you in love? Or are you in a pattern that feels like love? Because sometimes what we call connection is actually just a well-practiced wound. You think it's chemistry, but it's familiarity. You think it's destiny, but it's dysfunction you've known so long it feels safe. Let's get honest. Most of us don't fall for what's healthy. We fall for what's familiar, not because it's good for us, but because it matches the emotional rhythm we were raised in. If you grew up in chaos, calm might feel unsettling. If you were taught that love is earned, then affection feels like a reward you have to chase. If you were neglected emotionally, you might find yourself addicted to breadcrumbs of attention. That's not your fault, but it is your responsibility to break the cycle. Because here's what's wild. You're not actually addicted to them. You're addicted to the feeling that reminds your nervous system of your past. That uncertainty, that anxiety, that longing. It's not passion, it's a trauma loop. And you can't heal what you're still calling love. So how do we break the pattern? Step 1, name the pattern. Be radically honest. Ask yourself, what do my last 3 relationships have in common emotionally? What are the behaviors I keep tolerating? What roles do I keep playing? The fixer, the pleaser, the chaser. Step 2, trace it back. Who taught you that was normal? Who made you believe that silence was love? That inconsistency was passion? That pain meant depth? Because sometimes what feels magnetic is just your subconscious saying, I recognize this chaos. I know how to survive it. But you weren't born just to survive. You were born to transform. Step 3, redefine love in your own language. Not the version you were shown, not the version the movie sold you. Your version. Ask yourself, what does love feel like when it's safe? What does love look like when it doesn't hurt? What does love require that I've been afraid to ask for? And here's the hardest truth. Sometimes the healthy version of love will feel boring, not because it is, but because your nervous system isn't used to not suffering. You've mistaken peace for emptiness. You've mistaken stability for stagnation. You've mistaken mutual effort for it's too easy. But love that feels like home shouldn't have you walking on eggshells. Step 4, give yourself what you've been begging for. You want validation? Give it to yourself. You want attention? Be present with yourself. You want to feel chosen? Start choosing you. Because the moment you start becoming the person you needed, you stop chasing the people who can't provide it. And let me say this, healing doesn't mean you never get triggered. It means the trigger doesn't get to drive your decisions anymore. It means when someone new enters your life, you pause and ask, is this love or is this a loop? It means you stop calling dysfunction your destiny. You stop calling chaos your chemistry. And you stop letting your past pick your future. So many people keep reliving the same heartbreak in different phases, not because they're weak, but because they're unconscious. But awareness, that's your power. You can interrupt the autopilot. You can break the cycle. You can say, familiar doesn't mean forever. I am not repeating this pain again. This time, I choose peace. Because you can't build the life you want with the patterns you're too afraid to break. The moment you choose differently, not perfectly, just differently, you start becoming the version of you who finally feels free